feeding those rounds in the breech of the gun. So you need a very strong person to be the loader, someone very fit. The driver's in the front of the vehicle. He's actually almost lying on his back as he's driving this in what they call a supine position. The lower down he is, it means the lower they get the whole profile of the tank. And the lower you are, the harder a target you are to hit. Now it's got fantastic thick armour on this vehicle. It was weighed well over 60 tonnes, the whole tank. Very accurate gun. Unfortunately, the one thing about the Chieftain that let it down was the engine. We're going back now to the era of British Leyland. It was a British Leyland L60 engine in the back. It was supposed to be famously a multi-fuel engine. In other words, you could put in diesel, petrol, bottle of vodka, and it was still supposed to work. It didn't. It was a really unfortunate and unreliable engine, and that was the one thing that kind of let the Chieftain down. Luckily, we never had to use them in combat. They were used. We sold them to a number of other countries, and they were used in the Iran-Iraq war some years back. Now the engine's in the back there. You can hear that thumping great engine. Now the loudness of the engine means it's very hard not to hear this tank coming. So the crews are taught how to hide their vehicles in the landscape. Don't give yourself away until you have to. They're bound to hear you coming. But let's not reveal ourselves too soon. And again, as a tank like this, you can see he's got what they call a fully stabilised turret. That gun can lock on a target. Doesn't matter where the hull's going, the gun will remain locked on the target. And normally a tank versus tank engagement, it may be out to about 2 kilometres. So having a gun like that can fire not only on the move, but can lock on a target when the tank's moving, it means you're a much harder target to hit back at. So in other words, you know, if you can fire on the move, the poor enemy's got to try and train his guns on you as you're still moving around the battlefield. So that's a great advantage for a vehicle like this. Now you can see, as I mentioned, they paint them camouflage colours, but that's really no good on the open battlefield. You really need to hide your tank all the time. And again, that's why that reconnaissance vehicle is very important, because the reconnaissance vehicle can tell the commander what's the best way to go forward to keep yourself hidden from the enemy. In other words, where are the folds in the landscape, the hidden roads, that sort of thing, so the enemy don't see you till the last possible moment. They're bound to hear you, but you don't want them to see you to fire back yet. Now the Chieftain tank came out of British Army service back in the end of the 1990s. We then had a tank called Challenger 1. Not a particularly good tank. We've got a tank now in service called Challenger 2, which is a much better tank. And you may see one driving around the roads here or down to